Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of the worlds, and may His peace and blessings be upon our Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and his pure immaculate Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajal farajah. First, I would like to thank the community at large for inviting me. It's a great honor to be able to be with you during the next 2 or 3 nights. Inshallah, I'll mention a few themes as we progress, and it's all in relation to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but different aspects to it, inshallah. It will become evident as we go through. ما من مولود إلا يولد على الفطرة فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. There's no newborn, according to this holy tradition, save that it is born based on the fitrah. And then it's the parents that make the newborn Jewish, Christian, or Zoroastrian. Here in this tradition we see that the term fitra is used in opposition to being Jewish, Christian, or Zoroastrian. So we have fitra on the one side, and then being Jewish, Christian, or Zoroastrian, which are 3 examples. We don't need to confine it to these 3 belief systems. We can add more to it. We can even add Buddhism, Hinduism, or even shirk, other belief systems. But fitra is used in opposition to all these. And this shows that fitra, which we commonly translate as one's innate nature, is pure Islam, or it's pure Tawheed. Because everything in Islam, it's aqa'id, it's akhlaq, and it's ahkam, it's doctrine, it's ethics, it's jurisprudence, and so on and so forth. It all emanates from Tawheed, everything in Islam. And that pure Tawheed is pure Islam, and that pure Islam is the fitrah. And being Jewish, being Christian, being Zoroastrian is being in opposition to the true fitrah. That doesn't mean if you are a Jew, you have no element of Islam. It's possible for you to be a Jew, a Christian, a Zoroastrian, and still be a believer of some elements of Islam. And that will become evident as we go through, inshallah, tonight. When we annex this fact to the verse of the Holy Quran that reads, Inna ad-dina indallahi al-Islam, Inna ad-dina indallahi al-Islam, that verily religion before Allah is Islam. The religion of Nabi Musa was Islam. The religion So the religion of Nabi Musa was Islam. The religion of Nabi Ibrahim, the religion of Nabi Isa, and the religion of our Holy Prophet, all prophets, the religion they came with was Islam. Now, the religion they came with, it may be distorted. Once that pure Islam that given prophet brought becomes distorted, that distorted Islam, that Islam which has become distorted, that is now given the term Judaism, Christianity, or Zoroastrianism. And that's why the fitra in this holy tradition is used in opposition to being Jewish, Christian, or Zoroastrian. But that doesn't mean someone who is Jewish, Christian, or Zoroastrian, or of any other belief system, it doesn't mean they are 0% Muslim. There may be elements of Islam, either doctrinally, ethically, or jurisprudentially, that is on a par with Islam, true Islam. But still, there's some distortion. In another verse of the Holy Quran, just to highlight the importance of the fitrah, it reads, فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَتَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. The fitrah that Allah has created man based on this fitrah. The prepositions of the Holy Quran one has to pay attention to. فَتَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا, meaning ala the fitrah, ala al-fitrah. Man was created based on the fitrah. So the fitrah is a reality whose existence precedes the physical creation of man. It's a delicate point, this. You imagine an architect. Before building the physical house, he conceives of certain images of the house mentally. And then based on those mental pictures that he or she has of the house, then he draws it on a piece of paper and eventually it's built. You see how the mental house preceded the physical house. The physical house was built based on that mental existence of the house. The house existed before, not the physical house though, but the house had an existence before the physical existence of the house. But it was in the mental realm of the architect. Man was created by Allah based on the fitrah. Fitrah being true tawheed. So man, the creation of the physical man is based, this creation, physical creation, is based on the fitrah. So this fitrah existentially precedes the physical creation of man. But this precedence isn't a precedence in time, it's a precedence in hierarchy. Not in time, because right now the fitrah is here, as we are in the physical form. But the precedence of the fitrah is one in hierarchy. Okay. Now, Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism that are mentioned in the Holy Tradition, these are just 3 examples of belief systems that one's parents makes one become. But we can add a whole list to this tradition, like Hinduism, Buddhism, and even shirk, even kufr, because even kufr is a belief system in and of itself. Now we have in traditions from the Ahlul Bayt other examples where people who are Muslims by name, who were born as Muslims and are Muslims, these people are called Christian or Jews. Sometimes someone is born based on their fitrah and therefore they're a true Muslim. But then the Christian father makes them a Christian. The Jewish mother makes them a Jew. And so on and so forth. Okay, that's one aspect. But we have traditions whereby a Muslim whilst remaining a Muslim identity-wise and name-wise, they're referred to as a Jew or a Christian or a mushrik. And now it's become a bit finer now. Because here, it's not as if the person becomes a Jew or a Christian. No, they're still a Muslim by name. But the traditions regard them essentially to X degree as a Jew or Christian or mushrik. For example, a Muslim who was able to go to Hajj but didn't go out of his or her own free will, and then they passed away, they compromised their tawheed by doing such an action, by refraining from Hajj. And then the traditions call the death of such a person the death of a Jew or Christian. That doesn't mean that person is a Jew or Christian. They're still a Muslim, but still, existentially, their essence, there is a degree of Christianity and Judaism. Tawheed was compromised. They didn't go to Hajj. Some people may go to Hajj and still their tawheed can be compromised. There's no room for complacency. Someone may even do the Hajj, but it was just an external Hajj. These days, Hajj is becoming more and more comfortable. Taklif, duty, by definition, taklif means something which is burdensome. Doing salat on time is burdensome. Giving khums is burdensome. You're giving from your own property. Doing salat on time is burdensome. You're giving away your time. Fasting is burdensome. You don't eat from morning to night. But Hajj is tricky. It's becoming more and more comfortable. It's showing the Muslims are going the wrong route towards Hajj. Those days they would walk long distances. It was truly burdensome. During 6 months of walking and traveling, or 3 months of walking and traveling with a caravan, they're purifying themselves. They're thinking of Allah. They're undergoing burdens more and more. But today, we're watching television, any kind of program during the day, and then the same day at night we reach to Hajj and do our a'mal. In the best of hotels, the most comfortable of flights. And then it's becoming an enjoyment. It's almost becoming a tourist vacation. Something's wrong here. Anyway, a true Hajj, if you do it, okay, tawheed isn't compromised. But let's say if you don't do Hajj at all and you die as a Christian or Jew, or even if you do it, but you don't do it properly, the same principle holds. A tradition which both Sunnis and Shias have, and it's very authoritative according to both schools, Man mata wa lam ya'rif imam zamanihi mata mitat al-jahiliyyah. One who dies whilst not having irfan, wa lam ya'rif, one who dies whilst not having irfan, gnosis with a G, of the Imam of one's time, has died as the death of one in the era of ignorance, the time of Jahiliyyah, when they were mushrik. Or even if they did believe in Allah, they still believed in idols, which they ascribed deity to. In addition to ascribing deity to Allah, there were idols too. See, this is a very important tradition. Man mata, whoever you are, you're a Muslim, But you as a Muslim, you die. You will die as one who died before Islam. Die how? You die whilst not having irfan. It doesn't say وَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ إِمَامَ زَمَانِهِ. It doesn't say, one who dies whilst not knowing the Imam of one's time. That's not an issue. MashaAllah, everyone knows the Imam of their time. Whilst not having irfan of one's Imam, they die as a mushrik. Here, the question of irfan here. It's more than just knowing the Imam, his family details, mother, father, date of birth, when the minor occultation was, when the major occultation was. It's much more than just knowing those details. There's an irfan which is required in knowing the Imam of one's time. Because imamat is also a fitri matter. It's not an academic matter. It's a matter of the fitra. You may be a Christian, preserving elements of your fitra, and when you see the Imam, you'll recognize him, and you'll accept him. And traditions speak about that in the end of time, where many Christians will come and accept the 12th Imam, because some degree of their fitra was preserved. But you may be a Muslim scholar and know everything academically there is to know about imamat, but when the 12th Imam comes, you don't recognize him, and even worse, you reject the 12th Imam. And that's because the fitra wasn't preserved, nothing of it. You see, we don't know what's going to happen. It's not a black and white story. In the Holy Quran, when it speaks of the Holy Quran, sometimes it says, هذا الكتاب. For example, إن هذا الكتاب التي يهدي, I don't know the verse exactly, but yes, إن هذا, yes, إن هذا القرآن التي يهدي something هي أقوام. I can't remember this. التي هي, yes, التي هي, there's no يهدي. التي هي أقوام, yes. But sometimes it says هذا القرآن, this Quran. Sometimes the Quran says ذلك الكتاب, that book. Sometimes it says this book. Sometimes in the Quran it says ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ, that Allah. Sometimes in relation to Allah it says, Allah says إِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, I'm close, I'm near, meaning this Allah. This realm of this and realm of that is important, because this Quran is something which everyone has access to, the Arabic Quran. It's a physical reality. But when it speaks of ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, when it speaks of that is the book, and there's no doubt in it, that is the book. Here it's a metaphysical reality of the Quran. And that's why the demonstrative pronoun ذَلِكَ is used, because that is not accessible to anyone. That you need to endeavor. You have to transcend metaphysically to have access to that metaphysical reality of the Quran. But هذا القرآن you have access to, a physical Arabic Quran, so that we can understand. It's easy to have access to the physical Quran. Having access to ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, it's difficult. The Quran is called Quran al-Sakit, the silent Quran. But we also have Quran al-Natiq, the speaking Quran. The speaking Quran is the Ahlul Bayt, the Imams, the Holy Messenger. Because the reality of the Quran, the metaphysical reality of the Quran, and the metaphysical reality of the Imam, it's one reality. But one manifests physically as an Arabic Quran, and another manifests as a physical human being. But the metaphysical reality is one. إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ الثَّقَلَيْنِ. I'm leaving for you two very important, heavy, precious things. Kitab Allah wa itrati, Allah's book and my progeny. La yaftariqa. These two will never be separated from one another. Hatta yarida alayya al-hawd, until they enter my presence at the pond in the hereafter, in heaven. Not that they will be separated at the pond or at the divine water, the Hawd, the Kothar. It's just that people will only then realize they were one reality. They don't realize right now that the book and the Imam, it's one reality. La yaftariqa. That's why the traditions call the Imam the speaking Quran. So here too, the speaking Quran, sometimes it's هذا الإمام. هذا الإمام we all have access to. Everyone saw Amir al-Mu'mineen, the physical Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, 1400 years ago. But also in relation to the speaking Quran, there's ذَلِكَ الْإِمَامِ, that Imam, where one has access to the metaphysical reality of the Imam. And that is very difficult to acquire. So when it says ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, that is the book, that is the book. There's no doubt in it. The metaphysical reality of the book. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ. It can be used also in relation to the Imam, that Imam. There's no doubt in it. This is هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. It's a guidance for the muttaqeen. Who are the muttaqeen? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who have iman in relation to the unseen, in relation to ghaib. If this book is hiding behind the wall and I can't see it, this book doesn't qualify as something unseen. It's still a physical book. Just because it's hiding behind the veil, it doesn't make it unseen. I can't see it, but it's a physical book. It's a seen, apparent, visible book. Something which qualifies as a ghaib, it's beyond the physical realm of existence. That book, that Imam, where there is no doubt whatsoever in it, that metaphysical reality, it's a guidance for the muttaqeen. those who have faith in the unseen. They don't suffice with the physical imam. They don't suffice with the physical book, because that won't get you anywhere. It's a minimum. You'll be given heaven, inshallah, but heaven has degrees. Don't suffice with the minimum. We have to transcend to gain access to ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, to that book, beyond the physical realm. We have to gain access to ذَلِكَ الْإِمَامِ, to that imam, not just the physical imam. We have many traditions. When it comes to the commentary of يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, describing the muttaqeen, those who have faith in relation to the unseen, the traditions give a number of examples for the having faith towards the unseen. One is the hereafter. The hereafter, heaven and hell, is in the realm of the unseen. It's not a physical reality. That it's physical, but we don't see it. Heaven and hell exist right now. In chapter 30, verse number 7, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. They know, يَعْلَمُونَ. They know the outer aspect of the world, the outer aspect. But in relation to akhirah, they are oblivious, heedless. They are ghafil. In Arabic, when someone is ghafil in relation to X thing, it means X exists, but they are ghafil. It doesn't mean that X doesn't exist, or X will happen one day, but they are ghafil. It means one is ghafil and oblivious and heedless when they don't have access to something which exists right now. What is it that they are ghafil towards? Akhirah. What is akhirah? Akhirah in this verse is used in opposition to ظاهرا من الحياة الدنيا. So it shows that akhirah is باطنا من الحياة الدنيا. It's the batin, the metaphysical, esoteric dimensions of the physical reality. And that we are ghafil towards. But it exists. So, يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, one example the Imams have shown us is that it's in relation to the hereafter. Those who have faith in ghaib, they see some degree of the hereafter. We want to see right now the hereafter. That is true taqwa. We don't want to just be confined to the minimum of taqwa. The Quran, it's all about seeing. أَإِنْدَهُ إِلْمُ الْغَيْبِ فَهُوَ يَرَى. Does one have knowledge of the ghaib in order to qualify as a seer? This seeing isn't a physical seeing, otherwise animals have that too. It's seeing the ghaib beyond the physical. Another example of ghaib, in the commentary of يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, they say is the 12th Imam. Now the 12th Imam has a physical existence in this world, in the physical form. There's no doubt about that. And he will return, he will come one day in the physical form. And he will revolt. However, that isn't يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, seeing the physical 12th Imam. It's seeing the 12th Imam, his metaphysical ذَلِكَ الْإِمَام existence. النظر إلى وجه علي عبادة. It's a tradition. Seeing the face of Amir al-Mu'mineen is ibadah. But there were many munafiqs. Many of the munafiqeen, they would see Amir al-Mu'mineen every day. Was that ibadah? Definitely not. It's not the physical seeing which is important. It's seeing the barzakhi, metaphysical Amir al-Mu'mineen. Some people may see Amir al-Mu'mineen in one's dreams. They're seeing the real thing. It's a metaphysical reality of Amir al-Mu'mineen they're seeing. And the Ahlul Bayt have told us that if you see us in your dreams, it's us. Be patient. See what they have to tell you. When you have such dreams, don't convey it to others. Be patient for a while. And then sometimes you're not dreaming. You're awake. And you see the Imam, but not with the physical eye. With the same eye that you see in your sleep, you see the metaphysical Imam. It's all about seeing. We have plenty of prescriptions in the Quran prescribing us to see beyond the physical realm. يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, seeing the 12th Imam. It's open to everyone. But not the physical. That won't benefit us. If you see the 12th Imam in the physical form right now, if you're a bad person, you're going to remain a bad person. But if you see the metaphysical Imam, you're growing spiritually. And then once you see the metaphysical Imam, any Imam, until the next time you see him, you are totally ecstatic. You're totally intoxicated. You can't wait. And that is true intidhar. This is true intidhar. Otherwise, intidhar of the physical coming, it may happen in 2,000 million years from now. We don't know when it will happen. The quicker the better, inshallah, for us. But we can't rely on that alone. We have to see right now. So, here, there are many doctrines in Islam that if we don't understand properly, whilst being a Muslim, a certain percentage of our existence may be colored with Christianity, Judaism, and other belief systems. And we may not even be aware of it sometimes. For example, the concept of shafa'ah, intercession. If you don't be careful what you understand by intercession, and Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi has criticized the mambaris, those who speak on the pulpit, and said that they're exaggerating what intercession is. They're misguiding the people just so that they get a mambar, just so that they be invited. They're totally distorting the true message of what shafa'ah is. And if you think shafa'ah is just shedding a tear for Imam Hussein and all your sins will be forgiven, well, it's very Christian in belief. Such a belief system. You have to be very careful. Shafa'ah is much deeper than this. Shafa'ah has to be acquired in this world. But what is shafa'ah? One has to be careful. If you want, we can speak about it one day. One's understanding of Iblis, if one regards Iblis as absolute, independent evil, then one is Zoroastrian to some degree in one's belief. One's understanding of Tawheed, one may be a believer of Tawheed, but be a Jew in their understanding of Tawheed. One's understanding of Alam Adhar, which is a reality, it's a truth. But the way one believes it, one by default, because of the way they have been taught wrongly and they've accepted it, they're a believer of reincarnation if they don't be careful how to interpret Alam Adhar. And so on and so forth. So the point is, not only can a Jewish, Christian, Zoroastrian parent make one's newborn Jewish, Christian or Zoroastrian, but even Muslim parents can make one's newborn to X degree, not 100%, to X degree, they can make their Muslim children Christian, Jewish, Zoroastrian and other belief systems. So one can be Muslim by name, but essentially be Christian or Jewish or Zoroastrian to X degree. Now, there's no need to give figures or numbers, but the principle holds. Also, one may be Christian by name, but have elements of true Islam. Otherwise, those Christians who accept the 12th Imam, they have some degree of Islam preserved for them to accept the Imam. And those Muslims who reject the Imam, the fitrah is distorted. The fitrah rather is veiled, not distorted. It's veiled. The fitrah never changes. La tabdila li khalqillah. Now, from this part on in the discussion, it's a bit of a personal theory of mine, so don't worry if you don't accept it. It's just a personal interpretation. I don't mean personal as an ego thing. I just want to lay your fears at rest, so there's no need to panic or up to here. What I've explained was what the scholars say, and they've used the traditions to support what they've said. But from now on, it's a bit of a personal understanding. The question now is, how can I tell if I have an inner nature which is in harmony with being Christian, with being Jewish, with being Zoroastrian, with being mushrik? Because we're saying it's possible for us to remain as Muslim, but to be Christian to X degree, to be Jewish to X degree, depending on many belief systems, ethical systems, and so on and so forth. It's possible. The next question, it's a practical question. I want to evaluate myself right now. And I want to ascertain, am I in harmony with a Christian nature to whatever degree? Am I right now in harmony with the Jewish nature to whatever degree? And so on and so forth. Is there a way to find out? Is there a way to guide us here? Here the answer is yes. And the way to evaluate yourself is to ask yourself this question: how easy do I submit to the authority of a Christian or Jew, or mushrik, or Zoroastrian, whatever? How easy do I submit to the authority, not of Islam, not of Muslim authority, but the authority of a Christian or Jew or Zoroastrian or mushrik, and so on and so forth? That's the question. Those Christians who accepted the 12th Imam, they weren't bound or captivated or imprisoned by the prevailing Christian authorities. They were free. And that's why they accepted the Imam, or they will accept the Imam when he comes. Okay, what does this mean? Do we have any Quranic support to show that submitting to the authority of Christians or Jews is problematic? Chapter 5, verse 51. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe. So speaking to Muslims now. La tattakhidhu al-yahuda wan-nasara awliya. Don't take Jews or Christians as awliya. Some Qur'ans have translated this as friends. That's very surprising. Why should they translate, even Shia translators, why should they translate awliya, which is the plural of wali, as friends? Is it on a par with the spirit of Islam to say don't take a Jew as your friend? Don't take a Christian as your friend? Oh, that compassion that the Holy Messenger showed to Jews, Christians, visiting them when they were ill, showing compassion. Then you translate something like that. Maybe they've got influences from elsewhere. Anyway, no, a wali means authority. Awliya, authorities. Don't take as your authority the authority of Jews or Christians. Don't submit to that authority. You're a Muslim. Ba'dhuhum awliya or ba'd. The Christian Jews, some of them are wali over others. Some of them have authority over others. This is the important part of the verse. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ. Those amongst you who take their authority. فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Those who take their authority, they are one of them. Oh, Allahu Akbar. They're one of them. If you become one of them, the result is, the Quran ends with in the verse, Inna Allah, verily Allah, la yahdi, does not guide al-qawm al-dhalimin, the wrongdoing people. Allah, there's no divine guidance for you. You're a Muslim by name, but you may be Christian to X degree. You may be Jew to Y degree. You may be Zoroastrian to Z degree. You may be Mushrik to A degree, and so on and so forth. How easy do you accept them as your authority? Don't get me wrong, compassion to all human beings. Al-Hubbu Asasi, the Holy Messenger said. Compassion, love, is my course of action. My first course of action for all beings, humans, animals, it's all compassion. We're not speaking about compassion in this verse. It's about who you, as a Muslim, take as an authority. If you take a non-Muslim as your authority, you're going to be one of them. Next question is, what is it that makes you susceptible to be one of them? This is the next question now. The answer to this question, it may lie in chapter 2, 249. It's the story of Talut and Jalut. Talut is Saul, who was a man of God. He wasn't a prophet, but he was a man of God. Jalut is Goliath. The Bible also has this story. They call it David and Goliath, because Nabi Dawood at that time was in the army of Talut, was in the army of Saul. Here the Quran reads, فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ. When Saul, man of God, he set off with his troops, قَالَ Saul said, Inna Allaha mubtalikum binahar. He said to his army, some traditions say the army was of 80,000. He said, verily Allah is going to test you with a stream. Faman shariba minhu. Whoever drinks from the stream, falaysa minni. They're not one of mine. If you submit to that non-Muslim authority, you're one of them. What does it mean to be one of them? What did you do wrong? Here in this verse, Saul says it's a code. Stories of the Quran is a story of the soul. The codes of the salvation of the soul lie in these stories. It's not just a piece of history. They remain just as important now as it did then. But one has to understand the codes, the secrets, and unlock them. Whoever drinks, Saul says, man of God, revealed by Allah, revealed knowledge from Allah. He wasn't a prophet though. Allah revealed to them, this is the code, this is what you have to tell them. One who drinks from the stream, they're not one of mine. I'm a man of God, I'm a Muslim, Islam. One who follows the fitrah. If you drink from the stream, you're not one of mine. The fitrah is not on a par with what it should be. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَطْعَمْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي إِلَّا مَنِ اغْتَرَفَ غُرْفَةً بِيَدِهِ. One who doesn't drink from it, فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي. They are one of mine. Excepting those who drink a handful of water, they're still not one of mine. Those who don't drink it, they are one of mine. So some people, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, this verse, he says it's Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal farajan. Says that this verse is speaking of three groups. Those who drank the water, those who drank a bit of water, those who didn't drink any water. Those who didn't drink any water, they are one of mine, Saul said. Now what happened? فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. They drank from the water, save a few who didn't drink at all. The majority either drank or drank a little. إلا قليلا منهم فلما جاوزه هو والذين آمنوا معه. So when they crossed the water, Saul and those with him who were of the believers, قالوا, those who drank a little of the water, because those who drank a lot, they couldn't even transcend the stream. But those who drank a little, they said, لا طاقة لنا اليوم بجالوت وجنوده. We have no strength today against Goliath and his troops. Those who drank a bit of the water. We have no strength. So they failed too. However, قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله. Those who didn't drink at all. Those who had yaqeen that they would meet Allah one day. They said, كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين. How many a small party has dominated and won and beaten a larger party with Allah's permission, and Allah is with the patient. And they were victorious. What was it that made most people fail here and not to be counted as one of Saul's men? The answer was they drank from the water. What does the water mean here? Here the water is the dunya. We have this in traditions. Inna dunya bahron. The dunya is an ocean. فَقَدْ غَرِقَ فِيهَا جَيْلٌ كَثِيرٌ, and waves of people will get drowned in it. The dunya is the water. Whoever drinks from the dunya, the glitter of the dunya, the extravagance of the worldly life, you drink from it, you're not going to be one of mine, Saul says. Saul was the Muslim authority at that time. Going back to the previous verse, if you submit to a non-Muslim authority, you'll be one of them. What is it that helps you to prevent submitting with ease to a Muslim authority? The answer: you shouldn't be drowned in the worldly life. The lesser you're drowned in the worldly life, the lesser the probability that you will submit to a non-Muslim authority with ease. The more you're drowned in the worldly life, the more it becomes facilitated, this submission of yours from before a non-Muslim authority. Now, here you are Muslims here living in a land of kufr, which by itself isn't a bad thing. I don't want to say it's bad living in America, but it's a non-Muslim authority. And by that, I mean you do many things which the Sharia doesn't require you to do, but you have to do. And by default, you're submitting to a non-Muslim authority, like giving taxes, for example, and other things. You have to do it. It's the law of the land. And the Marajas say you have to abide by the law of the land. That's a fiqhi proposition that they've said. You can't just go against the law of the land. Now you've come here, you can't go against it. You have to respect it. The point I'm trying to make is an irfani, is a spiritual point here. It's not a letter of the law point. It's that don't be comfortable with submitting. You have to respect the law of the land. Yes, I'm not inciting any hatred. I'm not here to incite any hatred. I'm not here to incite you to go against the authorities. No, not at all. This is a country, you've come here, you're a citizen here, you're an American just as any other American, and you live here. However, you have to be careful that when you do these things that aren't required of you by a Muslim authority, be careful that you don't become comfortable in doing it. Once you become comfortable in doing things that aren't required of you in Islam, and you submit comfortably, you're one of them. Now, Ayatollah Sistani, Hafadhahullah, one of his representatives in Iraq, when a group of us went there, he said on behalf of Ayatollah Sistani to the Muslims in that group, he said, you living in America or in Europe, you're ambassadors to Islam. Your responsibility is double. And that's a very heavy statement he made. What it means is this, that you people here have the responsibility that I have to you towards the Americans, the non-Muslims, because they see Islam through you, how you act, how you behave. You've come here to listen to what I have to tell you about Islam. But they are listening to how you behave, non-Muslims in America. So Ayatollah Sistani says it's a double responsibility. It's a very heavy responsibility, this. If you just live in America and don't live by example as a true Muslim, and don't even care as living as a true Muslim before non-Muslims, you're wasting your time. You've become very comfortable with living under a non-Muslim rule. You have responsibility in this country. And your responsibility is compassion towards your fellow Americans. I'm not inciting any hatred here. It's not as if anyone has usurped your land here. Yes, I mean, imagine a country usurps Muslim land. There, the protocol is different. Totally different. But that protocol I'm not preaching to you here in America. All I'm saying is don't be comfortable living under non-Muslim authority. That's all I'm saying. And the fact that you have a double responsibility. The next issue is this. Okay, if I'm telling you not to be comfortable living under non-Muslim authority, whose authority should I live under today? Well, the answer to that is Islamic authority, Islamic leadership. An Islamic leadership that is justified. It has a mandate. There may be 5 people today in the Islamic world, and they say, I am the Islamic leader. Not marja necessarily. A socio-political, military, judiciary leader of the Muslim world. There may be 5 people today. There may be 10. I don't want to go into the particulars. These are general concepts I'm introducing. I don't want to go into the particulars here. There may be 5 people, and those 5 people may be on the same level. It's possible. But who has the stronger mandate? Who has the support of the experts of religion more than the others? That is Muslim authority. That is Islamic leadership. Islam doesn't stop with the major occultation. It can't do. Because Islam is an eternal, comprehensive religion. You can't suddenly, from a certain point of history, say, well, this 30% of Islamic rulings, we have to wait until the 12th Imam comes. That's an abrogated, mansukh Islam. In the one verse in the Holy Quran, it reads, أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Do you accept some of the book and then reject, don't believe in other parts of the book? فَمَا جَزَاءُ مَا يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ مِنْكُمْ. Those who do this, who accept some of the book, but don't accept other parts of the book, those who act in such a fashion amongst you, their reward, their recompensation is nothing but إِلَّا خِزْيٌ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Disgrace in the worldly life. Disgrace. Islam is an eternal religion. That's our belief, that's our claim. It's the last religion. And it will be the religion until the end. What does it mean to accept some of the book and then postpone, delay other parts of the book? To delay socio-political dimensions of Islam, for example, until the 12th Imam comes. That's rejecting some of the book. وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, and on the day of resurrection, يُرَدُّونَ إِلَىٰ أَشَدِّ الْعَذَابِ. That such people will be consigned to the most severe of punishments. Now here, book is Quran, the silent Quran. But if you extend its meaning, it's also the speaking Quran, the speaking kitab. What does it mean to accept some of what the Imam says and reject other things that the Imam says? Now today, during occultation, we need Islamic leadership because you can't accept some of the book and reject. What the Imam said, what the Holy Messenger said, what the Quran says, has to be executed today. But it won't be executed during the time of occultation by a ma'soom. But there has to be Islamic leadership. So everyone has to find who is the Islamic leader and be under their authority, So it has to be someone who claims to be a leader, and there may be 4 or 5 of them. As I say, this is not a marriage issue. It's a question of leadership now. And then you have to see, okay, these 5 people, they all say, I am the leader. How was he justified? How was he justified? Who put them in? Who gave them this authority? What is their mandate? Whichever has the stronger one, you accept them. But we need leadership. Otherwise, if you accept Islamic leadership 70%, who are you going to follow in that 30%? Are you going to follow Obama? Either you have to follow someone, or you say this 30% is postponed for now until the 12th Imam comes. That goes against the spirit of Islam, that eternal, comprehensive religion until the end of time. Islam is Islam. Or if you don't accept an Islamic leadership, then you have to accept a non-Islamic leadership. You accept that, you'll be one of them. Now, this Islamic leadership that we all have to follow is something very important. It has fiqhi prerequisites. The knowledge has to be good, the taqwa has to be standard, they have to be competent socio-politically, and so on and so forth. These are fiqhi requirements. But the next question is, are there spiritual requirements for the Islamic leadership? In addition to having taqwa, are there other spiritual prerequisites that Islamic leadership requires? Don't lose the plot of the discussion here. It all started off that we can also be Christian and Jew. Then how can we become Christian and Jew? If you submit to their authority. How if you drown in the worldly life? If you drown in satanic temptations? Okay, who do we follow? We have to have an Islamic leadership. Who is the Islamic leadership? Everyone to themselves, no one judge, everyone to their own route. There's no point in having arguments about it. Leave everyone to themselves. But this Islamic leadership needs fiqh requirements, knowledge, taqwa, competency. But it requires spiritual requirements too. What are the spiritual requirements of the Islamic leadership? And why is this important? And this is a very delicate point here. In traditions, there's a story between Iblis and Nabi Musa alayhi salam. Iblis says to Nabi Musa that my tawheed is stronger than yours. Nabi Musa is surprised here and says to Iblis, why? Iblis says, because when Allah told me to look before Adam alayhi salam, Adam, I refused. I only look at Allah. But when Allah told you to look at the mountain, you looked at the mountain. When He told me to look at Adam, I refused. I only looked at Allah. And therefore my tawheed is stronger than yours. The foolishness of this response by Iblis lies in the fact that he wasn't mukhlas. What does that mean? We have 2 terms in the Quran, mukhlis and mukhlas. Iblis was mukhlis. Mukhlis is when you do your actions, you dedicate your actions to Allah. Mukhlas is when you dedicate your I, your existence, the I, to Allah. And the I becomes slaughtered. The ego becomes eliminated. Such people They see Allah everywhere. هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن. فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله. Wherever they turn, there's the face of Allah. Allah is the first, the last, the inner and out of everything. Nothing is Allah free. They don't segregate Allah and creation. Because creation is nothing but Allah's manifestations. Nothing is Allah less. Iblis wasn't mukhlas though. He regarded Adam as separate from Allah. But Adam was a manifestation of Allah's attributes. The mountain is a manifestation of Allah's attributes. But Iblis saw the mountain as separate from Allah. That's problematic, that kind of tawheed. Nothing is Allah free. Whatever is a manifestation of Allah's attributes. You can only reach this level of فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ, according to verse 115 in chapter 2. Whichever way you turn, there is the face of Allah. كُلَّ يَوْمٍ هُوَ فِي شَأْنٍ. Whatever manifestation, moment to moment, it's Him, Allah, in dimension. You can only reach that when you slaughter the I and become mukhlas. Iblis wasn't mukhlas. His downfall, he thought his tawheed was strong by not listening to Allah. By sticking to Allah, not prostrating before Adam, he thought his tawheed was strong. He thought Nabi Musa's looking in the mountain is looking at other than Allah. In short, his downfall was because of his not acknowledging wahdatul wujud, which means whatever is, it's manifestations of Allah's attributes. Nothing is Allah free. Nothing. It's all Him, in dimension. He wasn't mukhlas. Why is it important that Islamic leadership should be mukhlas? Because if the Islamic leadership, we don't have someone who is mukhlas, they can easily fall under the prey of Iblis. And Iblis has said this in the Quran. وَلَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I will misguide them all. إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Except for the mukhlasin. Iblis says, the mukhlasin I cannot misguide. Because he wasn't mukhlas himself. He can't, his authority can't transcend to the mukhlasin. That's why it's important that Islamic leadership, they have to be someone mukhlas. Let's say a revolution happens and someone mukhlas is the pioneer of a revolution today. It's important that the pioneer of a revolution, they have to be mukhlas. But if they pass away and the next leader comes, if they are not mukhlas, as long as they abide by the principles of that pioneer, one is safe. But even if that non-mukhlas leader goes against the principles of the pioneer of the revolution, it's problematic. It has to go back to a mukhlas entity. Okay. So here, in short, the point was that we should not be complacent, one. Secondly, we may become to different shades, Christian, Jew, Zoroastrian, Mushrik, whilst being a Muslim. And that we have to take very seriously. Thirdly, we have to try and not be comfortable in submitting to non-Muslim authority. And the way to do that is not to drink from the stream. And that will enable us to follow Islamic leadership. And that is not in contradiction to living, in a country where non-Islamic law is the law of the land. No. You can be in such a country but still follow Islamic leadership. But you can't drink from the water. You have to show your adherence to true Islam by not drinking from the water. And maybe one of the esoteric dimensions in the massacre of Karbala, when Hazrat Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, when he went to connect the water for the children, there فَتَذَكَّرَ أَتَشَ الْحُسَيْنِ, he recalled the thirst of Imam Hussein and his family. فَرَمَى الْمَاء, he got rid of the water. He got rid of the water. And that is something that one has to think about. وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ